The Fringe Podcast, Season 5, Episode 2, Transilience Thought Unifier Model-11.
Hi, this is Michael Cerverus. I am the observer on Fox's Fringe, and I'll be watching you while you're listening to the Fringe Podcast.
Support for the Fringe Podcast is provided by listeners like you and by this week's sponsor, Global Cash Card. Learn how Global Cash Card provides world-class solutions for pay cards, gift cards, per diem cards, flex cards, and more by visiting thefringepodcast.com/globalcashcard today. Welcome back to the Fringe Podcast, a podcast dedicated to the Fox television show
Between Brothers.
Between Brothers. Any recollection at all on that
not one? Not even one neuron is firing.
Not with me either. Nor did I
Brothers.
take the time to even look it up to see what it was about.
You know, Darrell,
I do know Darrell.
this is my favorite time of year.
Football season?
No, we get to add new names to this list.
You talking about the show, the canceled show?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some that we'll get to add here in a couple weeks, probably.
Oh, you know what? Not looking so good for the mob doctor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's going to be getting some cement boots here before
There you
too
go.
long.
The sooner we can get it on the show.
That's right. I haven't really kept up with TV ratings a whole lot outside of Fringe and Revolution.
Yeah.
And then I saw some bad stuff on Mob Doctor. That's about all I know.
It looks dumb. to
Does
me,
it?
But
Yeah.
sorry if there are any Mob Doctor fans out there.
Yeah, both of them are now angry at
Yes.
you. Yeah. Anyway, we're here today to talk about the latest Fringe episode, Season 5 premiere episode, Transilience Thought Unifier Model-11, which I mentioned in the intro there. This episode was written by Joel Wyman and had two directors on this one as far as what was listed on fringepedia.net. I don't know the story behind why there were two, because normally there's only been one. I can't think of any other instance where there's been two directors. Can you?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. But these are both, regulars. I'm going to let you say them, though, because you say them better than I do.
Thank you.
At least in my mind. Or if it's wrong,
Yes.
you get blamed and not
All
me.
right, yeah. Please excuse Darrell while he fires up the diesel bus.
That's right.
He's fixing to drive over me here. The first director was Jeannot Schwark,
Uh-huh.
Swark, and the other is Miguel Sapochnik.
Something like that.
Sapochnik.
Sapochnik. Yep.
Miguel Sapochnik.
So
There we go. So if you're listening, Jeannot and Miguel, I apologize for butchering your last names. Mine gets butchered all the time. That's really why Darrell let me do it.
That's right. That way they can feel your pain.
That's true.
Is that what it is?
That is true.
Yeah. So how you doing, man?
Good.
Yeah.
I'm very excited and very sad.
Okay.
I'm excited that we're finally here.
Yes.
Man, it felt like forever, didn't it,
It did. It really did.
to get here
Yes.
to the season? And I'm sad because it's the last one
I know. I had that happen,
until the movie comes out.
Friday was, it was like the slowest day. I could not wait for Fringe to come.
Yeah.
I was so excited about it all day. And then the episode came and I was like giddy. Actually, I was giddy the night before. I did a little Fringe dance in the kitchen and my family looked at me like I was stupid. Kind of like probably you're doing right now if you're watching the live show and I'm dancing.
Yeah,
And
like they always do.
yes, shut up. And that wasn't very nice.
That wasn't very nice.
And but anyway, so the episode comes on. I'm totally excited, totally into it. Chat room was awesome, and then it was over. And I think I went to the kitchen and got a drink, and it was like, it's over.
Yeah,
The beginning of the end has started.
that's right.
It was sad,
It was.
but I'm not going to focus on that. We still have 12 more episodes coming our way to focus
That's
on
right.
and be joyous about.
We're only 1/13 through the season.
That's right. Yeah. Speaking of the chat room, while I'm thinking about it, I know we're going to get into the Fringe binge and all the episode stuff here in just a second. But if you don't come for the live watch on Friday nights as Fringe is airing in every time zone, come be a part of that. And then our live show is Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern time. Although I need to move next week to 3 p.m. Eastern time. Is that okay with you?
That works great.
Okay, so next week for our episode 2 review, I guess that'll be whatever episode. For the second episode of Fringe, We're going to start it at 3 Eastern time, but normally we start at 2. And it's so much fun. It was literally on Friday night, we had well over 100 people come by the chat room and chat for a while. And it was like a family reunion, except one that, your cousin isn't drunk and hitting on you, and one that you actually want to be at. It was so much fun seeing people for the first time in 3 months, and everyone catching up and everyone excited to see everybody. It's like a little family unit we have here with the Fringe Podcast, with the community that we have. And we want you to be a part of it. Even if you're brand new to Fringe, even if you've been with Fringe the whole time but never have come over, just, spend this last season as part of this wonderful Fringe family. So you're invited to come over thefringepodcast.com/chat. Like I said, every Friday as the show is being aired on Fox, and then every Sunday afternoon, normally at 2 p.m. Eastern, except next week will be at 3 p.m. Eastern, thefringepodcast.com/chat. So thanks for coming back, everybody. It was great seeing everybody.
That's right.
And Clint, you were going to be there, but your anniversary cropped up.
I know. My wife was like, take me out to dinner. And I was like, I can't. Fringe is on.
Yeah. And then she hit you.
And then I said, okay.
Yeah, I guess I'll watch Fringe later.
That's not how it happened.
Yeah. So hopefully you'll be there next week.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. You ready for some Fringe binge?
Let's get into some Fringe binge.
All right.
It's time to get the scoop on Fringe. It's the Fringe Binge. The Fringe Binge.
All right, we have a few things to talk about this week that we also talked about last week, but we want to keep reminding everybody about them. And these are, the first thing is that the Fringe Season 4 soundtrack is now available for pre-order. It releases on October the 16th. So you can go over to Amazon.com or your local place where you can do pre-orders and pre-order the soundtrack that comes out October 16th. If you're going to be getting it from Amazon, do us a favor. Go over to thefringepodcast.com. There on our right-hand sidebar, you'll see the Fringe DVD or Blu-ray, pictures of all the Blu-rays. That'll take you over to Amazon. And then anything that you purchase from Amazon, whether it be, a framed Elvis print or, the Chris Tilton Fringe Season 4 CD soundtrack, we'll get a little commission for that. And we've had several of you do that for just all sorts of random things, and we certainly appreciate it. Every little bit helps, keep the internet going here with Golden Spiral Media and the stream going and all the stuff that costs us money. We're very grateful for it. So thank you for doing that. The other thing is that Fringe Season 4 is now available on Amazon Instant Prime.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have Instant Prime, Darrell?
I signed up for it this week. I canceled my Hulu, actually.
Okay. I got Amazon.
And got Amazon. Now, Hulu, maybe I shouldn't have canceled my Hulu because we'll talk about this in what's the next thing? I might as well go ahead and bring it in. Hulu Plus, we had a lot of questions on Friday night in the chat room, and at that point I didn't know what the policy was going to be this season, but it looks like the Fringe episodes are going to be available next day.
Yes.
Via Hulu Plus for free, of course. I mean, you're paying for Hulu Plus, but you don't have to pay anything extra.
Is it on regular Hulu?
It's not on regular Hulu.
Okay.
I could only find it under Hulu Plus.
Okay.
Now, it might be after 8 days on regular Hulu. We'll have to find out on that.
Okay.
Amazon Instant Video, you still have to pay $1.99 for the standard def or $2.99 for the high def. And then iTunes, you have to pay $2.99. They only have it in high def. And that's available the next day, though.
I think iTunes has it in low def.
Oh, do they? I only saw the high def, but maybe I missed.
You probably, if you're looking on Apple TV, it defaults to one or the other, depending on how you have it set up. But I'm pretty sure they offer. Yeah. They offer both. So that's fantastic. So you can stick with the season if you're not able to get it. And of course, that's for U.S.
That's correct.
U.S.
That is correct.
Our U.S. folks.
Yep. So that's good, especially with the Hulu Plus thing being available, the very next day. In fact, we got an email in. I don't know that I'm going to read it. It was just saying that it was available within like 4 hours after the episode aired. So maybe at like midnight it was gone ahead and released or something like that. So very, very good news for those who might not have been able to catch it live.
Yes. Yeah. And Amazon Prime, again, totally worth it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only place you can get Fringe streaming for free, if I remember correctly.
All 4 seasons, all the first 4 seasons are streaming for free. And then, season 5 is pay. By the episode.
Which is totally understandable.
Yeah, it definitely is. We also mentioned last week in our recap and preview or predictions podcast that the folks over at morethanOneofEverything.net, who are the same folks that put together the Fringe hashtags hashtags for each Twitter campaign each week. They are putting together celebrating 5 years of Fringe, and these are some awards that they are putting together to give to the cast and crew of Fringe. And, it's something that you can make a contribution towards to help show your appreciation for the hard work that they've put in the last 5 seasons making this wonderful show. So go over to morethanOneofEverything.net and look there at the top. It'll be called Celebrating 5 Years of Fringe. And you can, you'll see it right there at the top right hand. There's a button where you can make a contribution to help pay for the awards. They're these little, they look kind of like amber, and they're really nice. You'll see pictures of it over there at the website. So yeah, check that out.
Very cool.
Yep.
All right, upcoming episodes. The one this Friday will be episode 2 called In Absentia. We've also got episode 3, The Recordist, episode 4, The Bullet That Saved the World.
I'm hearing that that's going to be just an amazing, amazing episode.
Well, they did that. I think they do it every season where episode 4
has always been
a major episode, right? We had The Arrival,
right?
Season 1.
Yeah.
I think that's when Peter came back, right? In last season.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then episode 5 is an origin story. Now, what I don't know is if these are concurrent airings. Have you heard, Darrell?
I haven't heard anything for sure. I've heard, I don't want to say anything because I've heard different things,
Yeah.
I think I heard something like there's 4, and then there's a break for like the World Series and stuff.
Just like there always is every year.
And then we're going to get 2. I don't know when it comes back for just 2. And then there's another break. And then when it comes back, let's see, that's 6. So that would make 7 straight. But I don't know what the dates on those are.
Yeah, I don't either.
And I wish we did so that we could figure out when the finale is going to be so that we could figure out the date of our finale party.
Yeah.
But as soon as, and if you guys have heard something that we haven't, please let us know. But we don't know exactly when the Fringe finale will be other than probably January or that first week of February.
Early February, that's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
We are having a Fringe finale party. You are invited. And we don't know exactly the date yet, as I just mentioned. We're trying to figure out how many of you guys are going to be able to make it here to Oklahoma City to party with us. There's going to be a karaoke contest with Clint.
It's not true at all.
Yeah, it is. Trust me.
That's definitely not true.
Maybe not. I don't know. But anyway, it'll be a whole lot of fun. So if you go over to thefringepodcast.com, I added it to the sidebar this week. Thanks, New Dana, for asking about that. It makes it so much easier to get to. There's a poll right there, and just let us know if you're going to be coming or not so that we can figure out how much space that we are going to need to reserve for the party. It should be a whole lot of fun.
That's right. All right. Just a quick reminder to go out and check out our blog. We've had some great articles written over the past year and a half, but some people have really stepped up their game the last couple of weeks.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
We have some great blog writers.
Yes.
Not us.
Not us.
We're talkers, not bloggers.
That's right. I'm a lover, not a fighter.
That's right. What? I don't know.
Yeah. But you can check that out at thefringepodcast.com.
Yep.
Shows right up on that front page. Another note, Fringe syndication starts on the Science Channel November 20th. So if you don't have Hulu Plus, what? No. If you don't have Amazon Prime,
yes,
and you want to catch up on all of the back episodes, support the Science Channel. Yeah. And you've got cable. Check it out.
We love the Science Channel. They do great stuff over there.
November 20th. They do fantastic stuff.
I love that channel.
That's right.
Okay, one last thing. Today, that we're recording this on September the 30th, which means tomorrow is what day, Clint?
September 32nd.
Also known as October 1st. Although September 31st would be October 1st.
Yes.
But anyway.
30 days has September, April, June, and November.
Yeah, you remembered.
All the rest have 31 except for February, which has 28.
Every 4 years, it has a leap year and it has 29.
That's right.
Yep. That's your educational moment.
That is the dumbest mnemonic.
It is. It's terrible.
It's like, except for, but then every 4 years, and then every 20 years, there's a leap second.
But I think it's so crazy that people actually remember it.
Yeah, it works.
It works. But anyway, tomorrow is October the 1st, and that means that tomorrow is the first day for Podcast Award nominations. And if you'll remember correctly, these start out with a nomination process, and then they'll go through all those that are nominated, and they'll announce finalists. And then once the finalists go on, then there's voting that takes place every single day. So What we're asking for is your nomination. So go over, starting October the 1st, go over to podcastawards.com. We're asking for you to nominate the Fringe Podcast. It's going to ask you for the podcast title, which is The Fringe Podcast. It's going to ask you for the podcast URL, which is thefringepodcast.com. So we've made it super easy for you. We're asking for your nomination in 2 categories, Best Produced and Entertainment. And we were a finalist in both of those last year. We didn't win either one. The previous year, we actually did win the entertainment category. And so we're always very grateful for you guys that do that for us. We want the podcast. This is our final year of the podcast too, sadly enough. And so we want the Fringe Podcast to go out in a bang, just like we want Fringe to go out in a bang. So if you think we're worthy of it, go over to podcastawards.com, nominate the Fringe Podcast in Best Produced and Entertainment.
And if you don't, stay off the website.
Yeah, don't nominate anybody else.
That's right.
All right, man. Bunsen burner time. What do you have?
All right, Darrell. You ready?
I'm ready. I haven't looked to see what you changed.
You got your mailbox open. You're ready to grab all the hate mail we're going to get.
Oh, man. Okay.
I didn't change it. I'm going to leave it. Nope.
Oh, man. Okay.
All right. I gave this episode 6.5. Olivia's in the coffee table with the creeper.
I love the tag, but the 6.5.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I disagree with that. I gave it 9. A storm is here.
What?
Yes. And we'll talk more about that. I think this will be where we kind of disagree a little bit.
That's okay.
All right. Well, before we get into our episode discussion, let's do a little recap of the episode. The episode begins where Letters of Transit left off in the year 2036. Peter, Walter, and Etta are getting some rest at a safe house. Peter has a dream of the moment the observers invaded. They are at a park. Etta plays nearby, blowing on dandelions. Suddenly, observers come out of thin air. Buildings are disintegrated. Observers close in on Etta, and Peter runs to save her, but doesn't get there in time. There appears to be an explosion, and the next thing Peter dreams is him and Olivia getting treated in a triage center. Etta is nowhere to be found. Peter wakes from his dream and finds Etta in the next room resting. Astrid is already awake, enjoying a cup of tea and a game of Scrabble. Walter wakes up and is upset that they did not wake him up already. They need to find Olivia as soon as possible. Walter says that Olivia was on her way back from New York to retrieve a special device. September implanted a secret plan to overthrow the observers into Walter's mind and then scrambled the plan so that the other observers would have a difficult time getting it if they tried to read Walter's mind. The device Olivia was retrieving will reassemble September's plan. The team goes to Olivia's last known whereabouts. Etta tells them that the air is too oxygen-rich for the observers. The observers are pumping large amounts of carbon monoxide into the air, which has brought down the average human lifespan to 45 years. They find an ambered area nearby and believe that Olivia may be inside. However, after investigating, they learn that all the people inside the amber have been harvested by amber gypsies. They must pay a visit to their storage facility and try to buy Olivia from them. Unfortunately, Olivia has already been purchased by someone else, and they have to bribe one of the gypsies to find out who purchased her. After they leave, the gypsy notifies the observers of their whereabouts. It turns out that Olivia was purchased by Peter's old book friend, Markham. Markham is in love with Olivia and is using her as a coffee table. He hopes to one day free her from the amber and has the idea that she'll fall in love with him. The Fringe team loads her into the van and Walter lags behind to look at some books. Suddenly, observers appear out of thin air. Etta shoots one of them and Walter flees. However, a group of soldiers surround him and he is captured. The rest of the team flees to a secret location in the Bronx. Olivia is freed from Amber and sees her daughter for the first time in over 20 years. They share a very moving and powerful reunion. Walter is taken to an interrogation room inside the Observer compound. Captain Windmark works him over, reading his mind and trying to put Walter's fragmented thoughts together. Walter thinks of music and tells Windmark that music helps him shift perspective. and gives him hope. Windmark tells him that there is no hope. Nothing grows from scorched earth. As he pries deeper and deeper into Walter's mind, the effects on Walter become increasingly more severe. Walter shakes violently, blood pours out of his nose, blood vessels in his eyes rupture, and he is sweating profusely. Still, he resists the mind-reading techniques of Windmark. The Fringe team uses surveillance footage and the help of some resistance fighters to learn the location of Walter. They use a device that makes it look like Peter is dead to serve as a Trojan horse and gain entrance into the observer's facility. They turn off the air supply equipment as a diversion. Windmark leaves Walter alone, and the team rushes in to rescue him. Walter is in terrible shape. Windmark has been able to determine that there is a plan to overtake the observers, and a blonde girl is helping them. Windmark looks over surveillance footage of the Fringe team invasion and realizes that Etta is the blonde girl assisting them. Etta's cover is now blown. Back at a safe house, they used a device that Olivia was retrieving 20 years ago on Walter's head so that September's plan can be reassembled. However, Windmark's interrogation techniques have damaged those parts of Walter's brain. Etta says that it is not possible to recover that type of damage. They now have no plan. Walter tries to rest, but is bothered by reflections coming off of something out in the street. He investigates the source and finds a group of old CDs. He puts one into the CD player of a nearby car. The song Only You by Yaz comes on. Walter seems to find healing and comfort in the music. He smiles as he notices a single dandelion growing out of the rubble. There is still hope. Wow, we were right on there for once.
For once.
Now, is it Yaz or Yaz? Do you know?
Like the birth control?
No, the group name of the CD that he played there at the end.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, the name of the song was Only You.
Only You.
No, different than that. That group is. I was like, I spent yesterday afternoon on YouTube and Wikipedia learning about this group. And I even learned how to play one of their songs on my guitar.
Oh my goodness! You gonna play it right now?
No, I'm not. I'll never play it for anybody except me. But anyway, yeah, Yaz or Yaz, I'm not sure. Is either Yaz or Yazoo is how they was their name in Europe. They had two different names, I guess.
Okay.
Love the choice of song there at the end.
Yeah, it was good.
Did you see the ending? They were wondering in the chat room. Did you see the ending?
Did I see the ending of the show?
Maybe that's why you gave it a 6.5. You thought it ended.
The non-ending? We're just kind of stopped in the middle of the scene.
All right, we'll get to that.
There's no cliffhanger at all.
I'm still going to let you do Science of Tomorrow, though.
Okay.
I'm going to let you.
All right.
I don't know why I said that, but here it is.
We're looking into the science of tomorrow. We're looking into the science. Oh, Clint, please tell us what's the science of tomorrow. Oh, Clint, please tell us about science. Take us to your wiki leader.
All right.
Well, Darrell, this week, surprisingly, we have a Science of Tomorrow.
We do?
I'm really shocked.
I'll be honest with you. I wasn't sure this season how much of the Science of Tomorrow we were going to be able to do.
I honestly didn't think we would be doing a single Science of Tomorrow segment this season.
Yeah.
Just because of the serialized nature of the show.
Right.
But we did have we had actually, there's quite a bit of technology.
Yeah, there was.
In their egg sticks. I could have talked about that. I could have talked about Words with Friends for XD, HC.
I have to admit, it was pretty funny. I need to send Jessica a note on that because she and I used to play Words with Friends.
Yeah.
And then she stopped because I beat her too much.
It's not true.
And then
I don't believe that for a second.
It's true. But here's the thing. She beat me like 3 games in a row, 4 games in a row.
Did she ever use Nagahide?
No. And she thinks that I let her win, but I didn't. But she thinks that I did, so then I think that took away the fun for her. She thought I wasn't trying my best.
Oh.
She even called me on it, and I'm like, no, I'm trying hard. Anyway, so it was funny to see her playing Scrabble / Words with Friends or whatever it was in the episode.
That is, I don't even know what it was, but
yeah, it was some form of Scrabble. It looked like.
Regardless, Science of Tomorrow. So in the episode, there was the Transilience Thought Unifier Model-11. Right.
Right.
So the Transilience Thought Unifier mod modulator in some semblance is actually real. This would be like the alpha prototype to the Model 1.
Okay.
But what they've been using it for, it's a brain-computer interface.
Okay.
And for stroke victims that have lost part of their brain function, they are using these brain-computer interfaces to remap portions of the brain.
Okay.
To help them remap portions of the brain, and also portions of the brain that work. They're working on controlling robotic arms and things like that.
Oh, cool.
Why are you laughing at me?
I'm laughing at the chat room. They said that you play Elements with friends. I just thought that was incredibly funny.
I don't think that's funny.
I'm sorry.
Calcium. Gallium. All right. But yeah, no, this is pretty cool. And I didn't realize that this kind of research was going on, but we'll go ahead and put a couple of links to this technology in the show notes.
Okay. I'll put it in the chat room right now.
Right now. Fantastical.
Yep.
So
they're able to piece together thoughts from people's brains and actually get robots to work. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I mean, they're basically taking things that are broken and kind of scrambled in their brains, just like was supposed to happen with Walter, and fixing them with these brain-computer interfaces. They're using them, like I said, for training the brain, retraining the brain. You know, if somebody's had a stroke and part of the brain function is lost, you know, on how to move their arms and things like that. And for people that have lost, you know, motor function, for connecting robotics, using a brain interface to move arms.
That's awesome.
And in one of the links, it's actually probably the most boring video I've ever seen. But it's a guy.
Is it you doing your self-affirmation videos before work every day?
I'm good enough. I'm smart enough. Doggone it. People listen to my podcast. No, Darrell.
Okay.
No, it's not. It's basically this guy sitting with this cap on, and he's got a robot connected to his arm, and it moves like 3 inches, and then it moves 3 inches.
Okay.
In probably 2 minutes.
Huh. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It does sound pretty boring, really.
But it's interesting because he's controlling it with his brain to get his hand to move.
That's pretty fascinating.
Yeah,
actually.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, very cool.
Very cool.
Right. It's awesome to have some science for tomorrow.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't think we were going to have any.
I didn't think we were going to have any either. So,
but you know what I did think we were going to have?
Some food for thought.
Man, we are looking at
This is like the all-you-can-eat buffet.
This is like the Golden Corral that we are about to belly up to.
The
here.
Western Sizzlin'.
Yes. The hometown buffet.
The CC's Pizza of.
Yeah. Let's get into it.
The Sizzler.
Root beer float. Butterscotch pudding.
Mr. Papaya.
Fruit cocktail. Coffee yogurt.
Egg sticks.
Egg. Disgusting. That's what that is.
It looked pretty gross. Like he had, like after he spit it out, he had like white stuff on his mouth.
White chalky stuff. It looked like they put like pastel paint in there. Yeah.
It's pretty nasty.
Yeah. That was real.
We
also had walnuts, which are used
for cash
as currency instead of food. I don't know why anybody would pay $3,000 for walnuts, but hey,
man, did you in his face when he saw him?
Yeah,
you know? So
each his own.
Yeah, well, I've got some thoughts on that, but we'll get into that in just a second. The glyphs in this episode spell doubt, and this is also the part where we would normally tell you where the observer was.
You know what?
I don't think that's going to be necessary from here on out.
I saw him this week.
Did you?
Without having to rewatch it.
Good for you, Clint.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Another thing worth pointing out before we get into all the stuff here, this was the same intro that we got in episode 419.
That's correct.
Letters of Transit. I had this what I thought in my mind was a really cool idea. Clint, you'll know, and most of our listeners will remember, that since day one, Observers Are Here has been hidden in the title sequence.
Yes.
And it's always been there for the main title sequences. I don't think they've put it into the 1985 title sequences. I'd have to go back and look. But even the red one, the blue one, and the amber one, it's there for about 2 frames. Observers Are Here.
Yep.
Which it's been really cool. It's been in that Easter egg that's been out there the entire time, that this was more about the observers than you might realize. So I thought it would have been cool.
Yes, I know where you're going with this. Observers are there. right?
Well, what I had really in mind was that it came to the forefront. Observers are here. They finally pull it out and reveal something that's been there the entire time for those who were, into the really detailed minutia of the show.
Yes, which is us.
Yeah, but it didn't. That's okay. So we had the same title sequence as we had in Letters of Transit, episode 419. All right, Clint, you gave it a 6.5. I want to let you take it off and however you want to start the discussion here with this episode.
Yeah. No. Okay. This was my gut reaction.
Okay.
We kind of had this conversation before we started the podcast. I'm not sure if I was just in a different frame of mind. I was so excited. Maybe I was let down a little bit. But, there is a totally different feel this season.
Sure.
We've gone from a case of the week with a B story that kind of progresses,
right,
to just the B story, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And so we have no case of the week. We have no interesting or terrible, as the case may be, A story. And so we don't get a clean wrap up at the end of this episode,
Yeah.
I think the previous episodes have ended, most of them have ended on a B story cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Would
but
you
the
agree?
A story resolved.
The A story is almost always resolved.
Yes.
With the exception of a few episodes, right?
Right.
Season premieres, season finales, etc.
Right. Exactly.
So I think it may take me a while to get used to this new format. And it feels, I know we had this conversation at the beginning of season 4 without Peter.
Mm-hmm.
The first episode felt a little weird.
Yeah.
Because we had all these people we didn't really know. There was no Peter. And, we thought that we were going to get Peter back, which we did.
Mm-hmm.
But, it resolved itself in a completely different way. So that's part of it. Just that we've, it would be like taking House.
Yeah.
Where they have a case of the week. And then they've got kind of whatever's going on in House's personal life. And I know House is canceled now, but...
What? Spoiler alert.
Sorry. But, and then the last season, not having any cases, but just following him around with the camera.
No, it's not quite the same, but I understand what you're saying.
It would be jarring to the audience, right? Because you're used to this format, right? Or formula.
Okay. Yeah.
Or Law and Order, right?
Okay.
A season of episodes about, Christopher Maloney at home eating sandwiches with his family. And
I think a better example would be a 13 episode season of the same crime story
case.
Yeah.
Set in one possible future with a blended timeline.
Right. Right. Okay. But that's what this season's going to be. It is a 13-part movie, as Joel has described it.
Yeah, it's a miniseries, right?
It is. It is. It's going to be one big serial, as you put it. I don't know if it's Frankenberry or what it is, or Booberry, whatever it was Walter liked. Different kind of cereal, I suppose. Right. But yeah, so it definitely has a different feel to it. Yes. You're very right about that. It doesn't necessarily have the A and the B, and I don't know that we're going to get any of that. Well, time will tell on that.
That's true.
But it's what I expected when I had read, that it was going to be a 13-part miniseries, and it was all going to blend together, no filler episodes. No, I didn't know if there was still going to be a Monster of the Week or Case of the Week or whatever, but I wasn't really surprised to find that there wasn't, at least this week.
Yeah.
I don't know that there will be. Well, do you think there will be any Monsters or Cases of the Week?
No. I don't
think so
unless they're going to do kind of the Breaking Bad thing, right, where they've got, this week was trying to get the Trans Unifier, and then next week they've got to get some other gadget, and then all the episodes are getting all the different pieces put together, and then it kind of convenes, right?
Yeah, but the piece would be the B story, not some big bad that they have to go out and catch.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they could use these little nuggets of...
Yeah, there still have to be plot devices to move the story along.
We got to get this thing.
Right.
And so this week is spent figuring out how to get that thing and then getting it, right?
Exactly.
But, I think season 4 resolved itself pretty much, right?
Right.
We had resolution at the end of season 4.
That's right.
We had this episode 19 in the middle of the season that, just kind of was there.
Right.
Didn't really have a place in time. And now it does.
Right. It was kind of put there in hopes that they would get the fifth season to tell that story.
That's right. But the characters resolved, right? The conflict between the characters.
Mm-hmm. At the end of season 4.
The end of season 4, Peter and Olivia live happily ever after.
Mm-hmm.
Astrid is finally in a place where she's comfortable. Walter has become almost a whole person, accepting Peter back into his life, all the rest of that, right?
Right.
And so there was no cliffhanger over the summer, other than the fact that this is the last season. And I don't feel like that there's really any mystery left in this season in the same way that there was, in season 4, where's Peter? In season 3, what's going to happen with the two universes, right?
Right.
In season 2, now that we've gone over there, what's going to happen with the universes?
Right.
And I don't think we're going to have a big bad this season other than the observers, which we've already got a pretty good understanding of what they're capable of and what they're like from that. And so I could be wrong. I've always been pleasantly surprised by this show.
Yeah, that's a good point to make.
Always been pleasantly surprised by the things that they've done.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing for me is they've taken these characters and put them in very interesting and different situations. And then, it's been a study on the human condition, right?
Right.
And I don't feel like we're going to get that same thing. It's going to be like the characters are fully developed. Now we're going to put them in this scene and let them kick butt and take over and kick out the observers from our universe.
Okay. So I'm gonna kind of share my point of view on a couple of those things. I'll start with what you just said, where this show has always been a study on the human condition. If the observers are human, and I'm going to actually throw something out here in just a second about that, then this can still be a study on the human condition, what we, how we use power, how we manipulate people for selfish means, and how, we can still go into, if they're humans and we're humans and there's a battle that's going on, there's still some human condition stories that can be pulled out of that.
Okay.
So I don't think Fringe has lost that. Now you said that maybe the mystery has gone from the show because it's just the observers and we know what we don't know how it's going to unfold, but we feel like we know what the story is going to get, where it's going to, and so there's not really a mystery as to what the overarching story is.
Right.
It's just how is it going to be resolved?
How's it going to play out?
Yeah, and that may be true, and that's what happens anytime you get closer to putting as you put puzzle pieces in, you pour a puzzle on the box or a puzzle box onto the table, you start putting it together. It starts making itself a whole lot more clear the farther you go along, so that you really see what it is before you're actually fully done with it. And so that could be what's going on here. You very well could be right about that. But I want to throw out a theory, and this is something I threw out last week, and actually I kind of threw it out kind of not fully believing it, but I liked it, but I didn't know if it was going to come true or not. And we still don't know, but I like it more this week than I did last week. And they sent out 3 previews or 4 previews of the show this week. And I watched them all. I was not spoiler-free going into it. We weren't doing a podcast, and so I wasn't going to base any of my stuff on spoiler. So I'm like, heck yeah, I'm going to watch these previews. And one of them was when they go down to the market with the walnuts. One of them was seeing Etta and the observers coming out of thin air and stuff like that. But when I saw one of those previews, my thought was, man, this is a storm. And that's why my rating was, a storm is here. Bell always said a storm is coming. And I never felt like the battle with the shapeshifters or the battle with the Redverse equated a storm. Were they some fights? Was there some tension? Yes. But even with the shapeshifters, which I believe was a bigger battle than the Redverse was, I wouldn't classify either of those as a storm. Now, does that mean they averted the storm? Maybe. But what we saw in this episode, a storm is coming, and it's the observer invasion. That when they invaded, and you see antimatter type, building destruction, and observers coming out of thin air, and explosions going off. That in my mind was what I envisioned as a storm is coming. So last week when I threw out there the theory that William Bell was behind all of this, I think that holds more water now than it did a week ago. I think this is the storm he was coming about. He's been manipulating this team the entire time. He's not on their side, which we've always thought his allegiances were muddy at best. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's what I'm thinking is there's still some mystery here that it might be revealed that Bell is behind all of this still.
Okay. But is that mysterious to you if that happens?
It would be. I mean, it would be something we didn't necessarily see coming. Even though I threw it out there as a theory, I don't think the even me, I would be surprised. I'd be pleasantly surprised. I'd be like, yes, I called it. But I would still be surprised if that were revealed to be the case.
Yes. Yeah. I think the thing for me, I'm really going to get a lot of hate mail for saying this.
Okay.
I feel like from this episode that they've got a little bit of the Star Wars prequel problem. In that, we think we know.
Did you say Star Wars prequel?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. You've got this. You know where the characters are going to end up. At least we think we do, right?
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I don't know where the characters are going to end up. But we think we know that there's going to be this battle between our team and the Observers, and ultimately our team will probably win.
Right.
Is that fair?
That's fair.
Is that fair to say?
That's absolutely fair. That's what I expect to happen.
And so the goal of this season is to make that exciting and interesting and getting to tell that story.
Right.
Which I'm really excited about.
Yeah.
But it's a different feel than the rest of Fringe.
There's no question.
Yeah.
There's no question. And maybe this is going to sound rude, and I don't mean it to be at all, but maybe you need to adjust your expectations.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't mean that to be rude in any way at all.
Not at all. I don't think that my expectations. Well, I think my expectations for Fringe are so high because Fringe has set those high expectations. But for this season, I'm going to have to adjust in my mind what Fringe is. It's not fitting
because it is a different feel. It is a different show.
It's fitting in a different box.
Yeah,
and there were some really beautiful scenes this week, which we'll get to.
There sure were. I want to throw out one more theory since we're talking about the William Bell thing here, and this will get us into what I thought was one of the more beautiful scenes, and that is the Blade Runner feel of this episode in some parts. This is a show that has paid homage to Blade Runner in a lot of ways for several seasons. The shapeshifters are very much like replicants. We got the Do Shapeshifters Dream of Electric Sheep, which is a play off of the title Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which is the book by Philip K. Dick that Blade Runner is based off of. Now, that market scene down there where the Amber Gypsies were, that was fantastic.
Yeah, it was really cool.
That was so cool. To me, it looked like Deckard really could have been about a block down the street at the Noodle Bar when the inspector walks up to him and basically says, "We need you back." I mean, it had that. They did that so well. I thought it was homage to Blade Runner through and through.
Well, and that scene right before they get to that marketplace in Blade Runner, you've got the geisha posted up on the wall, and Walter walks right by the robotic geisha.
Yeah, was she robotic?
I think so.
She looked at, didn't she?
Yeah.
And you had the robotic dog sitting there too.
Right.
And in Blade Runner, animals don't exist anymore, or they're very, very expensive. They're very, very rare. Everything's an android, even the animals.
Yep. Very cool.
That leads me to my other theory, and that is, even though the shapeshifters, even though the observers have said that they're human, they think they're human, just like the replicants and even Deckard thought he was human, and he turned out to be a replicant. Or there's some debate over it or whatever. But I think that they are actually shapeshifters.
Who?
William Bell's behind them. William Bell's behind the observers, and they're actually shapeshifters in the future. They think they're human, but they're not.
You think the observers are shapeshifters?
Or an android, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
they're not really human. They're made by William Bell.
I like that,
and that goes in with that whole Blade Runner feel.
Yeah, I like that.
You like that?
That they're coming to figure out their creators, and
and they don't know it. They think they're human.
Right.
It's just a fun little theory. I don't know that that'll matter to anything, but it was. I actually got that from Jeremy. He and I were talking at lunch. Yeah. Jeremy does the Revolution podcast with me. And he's been getting into Fringe. He's not quite caught up yet. And we were talking about it at lunch this week. And he threw that out there. And it kind of morphed into that. And so I worked that one out with him.
I like it.
I like it too. Yeah. It's a fun little theory. I don't know if it'll come true or not.
I like it.
But that scene to me, that market scene was so beautiful. And but I think when you were talking about beautiful scenes, you might have been talking about some of the character scenes. What were some of your favorite scenes here?
Well, and there were, even the intro, the way that was shot and cut with Olivia and Etta and Peter.
Uh-huh.
You're at the park and it's like this commercial for shampoo or something.
Okay.
Right? Which is this beautiful family, everything's honky dory. And the way that they intersperse those, scenes of panic and trying to grab your child when you see the observers coming with the happy moments, I thought I thought the editing there was fantastic.
It was
really impactful. You really got the sense of this is a huge emotional point in a lot of people's lives where everything went from everything is great to everything is the absolute worst it could possibly be.
Yeah. And I liked in the triage, as Peter's having that dream, when he's in that triage center, you see that it jump.
Yeah.
And to me, what that, in those moments when life happens, when those types of life events happen, car wreck or you hear of someone dying or whatever, it all becomes a blur, and there are gaps of time in your memory because you just don't remember what happened, even though you were there. And so I liked the way they edited that. It kind of made that like something happened there, but Peter has no memory of what it was because it was all just a blur.
Right.
Yep. I liked that a lot.
Yeah, I thought that was great. The scenes where they cut back to, in Walter's memory of Etta as a child, and then obviously scenes with Peter.
Right.
I thought that was really beautiful. I don't know if we can get into this now. I guess. Sure. The really beautiful scene, was that beginning with, little Etta blowing dandelion seeds, and then, juxtaposed with the smack middle of the episode where Walter's being tortured.
Yeah. And
the observer, Widmark, says nothing grows in scorched earth.
Right.
And then at the end of the end of the episode, you see the broken Walter listening to music, looking at the dandelion growing in the ground.
Yeah.
It's just that one last piece of hope. That's what he's holding on to.
That's right.
And I was reminded of our favorite episode, or at least my favorite episode, White Tulip, where he talks about he asked for a sign from God. And I could just picture him, asking for a sign as he's listening for that music, and then him singing the dandelion.
Yeah.
I thought it was really beautiful, really well done.
It really was. It was amazing. The song choice and the way it just cut suddenly in the middle of the song, I thought was wonderful. Again, fantastic music choice and fantastic editing.
Yeah, the lyrics lyrics were good, and the music was kind of poppy and hopeful and upbeat. Right.
Yep. That beginning scene there with the girl or Etta, blowing the dandelions is very reminiscent of an LBJ political commercial, Lyndon Baines Johnson, from 1964. And I got this from Maureen. I would never have got this, but she posted this the other day in the chat room, and it's so good. And it shows a little girl, pulling petals from a flower and counting them, and then poof, nuclear bomb goes off, So I'll post a link to this in the show notes. I'm posting it into the chat room right now in case you're interested in seeing this commercial. And it's really probably was where they drew the inspiration for that scene.
And also Terminator 2, the nuclear holocaust scene where the kids are playing in the park and she's shaking the fence, trying to tell them, it reminded me a lot of that scene as well.
Yeah, so. Definitely. All right. So what are some of the other things you want to talk about? We've gone kind of out of order here in our notes, so we kind of got to get reorganized here.
I don't know if any of this is in any particular order. One of the things I noticed, the budget was lower this season. I think you could tell in a couple areas. It wasn't distracting, though, and I'm still glad to be getting this story.
Definitely. So there were two scenes that I thought you could tell they were done in front of a green screen, and it was a little bit, but they were brief, and there may have been a whole lot more than that I didn't notice. So, I'm with you.
Yep.
I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. What else you got?
Well, I want to talk about. This is a little bit out of order, folks. I apologize for that, but okay. So we got some of the backstory there with Etta, and Peter showed us how she was, or how the invasion occurred, and I guess she went missing from that day forward. We don't know how she was raised, though. Where did she get raised? How did she get trained to be a fringe agent? I would have thought had the observers taken her captive that day, then she never would have become a fringe agent. So I'm just really confused. What her backstory is. How did Peter and Olivia react? They gave us some dialogue there that kind of told us some events that happened.
Right.
Do you think we're going to get any more of that? Is that going to be a weekly occurrence where we get some sort of flashback either through dream or through dialogue Even maybe they're having a recollection of something that happened, but we're actually visually seeing, their voiceover or something like that. Do you think we're going to get some sort of regular flashback to help fill in some of those gaps?
I certainly hope so. We've got characters that are a little out of time and place for us, as they have been every season, right?
Right.
And so it'll be interesting to see how they use that. But I hope that we do get flashback, because it's not like nothing happened between, the end of season 4 and the beginning of Letters of Transit.
Right.
Right. So.
Yeah, there's almost 4 years there. You figure Olivia was pregnant for 9 years. Etta was 9 months. Thank you. Etta was kidnapped at 3 years, 1 month and 5 days or whatever it was. And so that's almost 4 years there of some sort of peace. We that's the story that we got to figure out. Plus, like I said, what happened how did Etta get raised? Who raised her? How did she become a Fringe agent?
Right.
I hope we get something of that. I don't know that we need a lot of detail, but at least fill in some of those gaps for us. And I think they've got, do a couple of flashbacks every episode like they did this episode, and those gaps will be filled in before the end of the season.
Yeah, we'll be in good shape.
Yeah.
Let me ask a question. We know that she has some abilities.
Uh-huh.
This kind of ties in with that. Are we going to find out how she came to realize those abilities?
Uh-huh.
She got shot.
Yes.
By the Observer.
With a stun gun thingy.
With the stun gun thingy.
Yeah.
And then the next scene we see her and she's running outside like nothing happened.
Yeah.
Is that a special ability or just was set on low?
It could be either, man. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, because the Observer had the gun pointed at Walter's head. Not at his body. I don't know.
Yeah.
Any thoughts there?
Not really. I mean, I could see either one. Maybe he had the gun set low, or maybe if I had to pick, I'd say she's special.
She is special.
Mm-hmm.
She's very special. Speaking of special, what was that crazy respawn thing that the Observer did in that episode?
He didn't respawn. I thought it was another Observer popped through.
It looked like the same Observer.
Oh, did it? Don't they all look the same?
That's racist. That was a racist comment.
Yes, all observers look the same. I'm foolish for saying that. I thought it was a new observer that just kind of popped in. That's going to be a new little twist, and we have seen them walk in and out of realities before. But man, that's a new little thing. We saw quite a bit of it happen in this episode.
Yeah,
so that's going to be cool.
Yeah,
I mean, you could literally be eating dinner with your family, and an observer just appears.
Yeah, that'd be terrible.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
It would be. Absolutely, it would be.
Buildings just disappear.
Yeah.
With antimatter weapons.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another cool thing, we had so many good scenes in this one, and we'll get to some of those between the Etta and Olivia and Peter and Olivia. You mentioned that one. But in that scene with Peter and Olivia, and when they talk about what happened between them, basically, it sounded to me that Olivia wanted to go on and save the world, and Peter couldn't move on without Etta. And it was an interesting parallel because he couldn't move on without his child.
Yeah.
And he was really, the world didn't matter anymore. What mattered was his child. Very much the same mentality that Walter had.
Right.
Forget the rest of the world or the other universe. I got to save my boy, or at least a version of my boy.
That's right.
So that was a really cool parallel, and when you think about the whole phrase, be a better man than your father, maybe. I hate to say you're a terrible father if you're doing whatever you can to save your child.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But anyway.
Yeah.
Interesting parallel.
It's a very interesting parallel. I think one of the things that they had to do with this episode, and I think they did it fantastically, is, they had resolved the characters at the end of season 4.
Right.
They had to figure out a way to get them unresolved right?
No, that's true.
And so, I think they did a great job of kind of setting that back up.
Yeah.
And that may be why I didn't rate this episode as highly as you did, because it was an alignment of chess pieces almost, where they felt like they
setting
had
them up again.
Yeah, had to create some new
storylines, really.
Some new strife, right?
Yeah.
So
right.
Walter went from the beginning of the episode, he went from being a whole and motivated, I would almost say a sane person.
It was really interesting, some of his moments where it was like he was sane and then he wasn't sane, or he thought he was insane but he wasn't. Like when he didn't have his pants on and then he's like, I know, I'm not an idiot.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so it's a really, I loved it. It was almost like a different Walter again. Yeah. He's got all of his brain pieces.
Yeah.
Although now after Widmark got done with him and some of that other stuff is gone.
Again.
We don't know. What is his mental state
That's
now?
exactly right. You know, he went back to bathrobe Walter.
He did.
Right, with no pants on.
No pants on.
At the end of the episode. And I just had a note here that a knowledge of his pants equals sanity. Or he's insane if he doesn't know if he's got pants on or not.
I saw that note. That's great. Yeah.
You know, Peter was broken. He couldn't move on. Very similar to season 4.
Yeah.
You know, where he was kind of in the abyss and had to have other people's love, you know, pull him out of wherever he was, pull him through. Bonds of love were just too strong. Olivia, same situation she's been in with seasons 2 through 4, where she's physically there with Peter, but something's come between him, right?
Right.
Be it an alt Olivia, or the fact that she doesn't remember him,
right?
Or the fact that she moved on and he didn't. You know, and then Astrid is she's back in the action, right? She's along for the ride again.
Yeah.
So we basically have these characters, and they're the same and they're different, but
they all have their roles.
Yeah,
and they're in this different environment with this new goal, but their roles are still kind of.
But it's almost like they've hit a reset button on their personalities again at the beginning of the season, just like they have the previous season. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about some of the acting that we got in this episode. Georgina Haig, she plays Henrietta, and Michael Kopsa plays Windmark. And we saw both of them in 419, and I thought they were both great in 419. But this episode really showed them off even more. And plus, now we've got 2 episodes to kind of see they have a larger body of work that they have now presented before us. And I thought they were both great. Windmark, Michael Kopsa playing Windmark is amazing. He was so creepy and strong and terrifying, and he played that was such a hard scene to watch. You know, it was kind of broken up. Maybe that was intentional because it would have been really, really hard to watch in one sitting.
Yeah.
But that interrogation scene between he and Walter was so powerful.
Oh, it was really
so
intense.
Good. Intense is a great word.
It's hard to watch.
It was hard to watch, to see Walter, blood pouring out of his nose and him sweating and shaking violently.
Yeah, and just the acting that John Noble did there.
Yeah.
Was fantastic. No wonder he needed to take a break.
That's right. This is when he had to take a break and get some sleep and stuff like that. And I wonder how much this scene played into that.
Yeah.
It would have been very demanding mentally and physically, I imagine, too.
Yeah.
I'm sure they both took a toll. Now, Georgina there, that scene between she and Anna, where mom meets daughter for the first time. I don't know about your living room. My living room got really dusty about that time. I got a lot of dust in my eyes. It was powerful.
Yeah.
So good.
I was cutting onions.
Yeah.
So
it was, and the way Olivia embraced her and said, you were 3.
Yeah.
And she paused. But as soon as she said 3 years, 1 month, it was just like, oh, it just had so much more depth to that. Yeah. Yeah.
She knew exactly how old she was.
It was so good.
Yeah.
That is up for quote of the week. There's no maybe about it. Such a powerful scene.
All right.
And you mentioned the scene between Peter and Olivia there, where he breaks down and tells her, some of the faults that he did, mistakes that he made, and she fesses up to some of the mistakes that they made. A very healing moment between the two. If you remember all that stuff while you're frozen in amber, that's what they're thinking about the entire time. Can you imagine that?
It'd be torture, wouldn't it? No.
Yeah. Just in my personal life, I got into it with a coworker this week, and I didn't say anything necessarily that I regretted, but I raised my voice and just totally lost my cool with him, which I don't do. Thankfully, I don't do it very often. But it bothered me all night. First thing the next morning, I went in and apologized to him. And can you imagine being stuck in amber for 20 years, with that? Years. It's just like, wow, that's quite a burden, quite a weight, So it was a powerful scene between them two as well.
Yeah.
What else for you?
I completely agree that the scene, where Woodmark said, I find you much more scientifically fascinating as a human being.
Yeah.
But I don't really care if I turn you into a vegetable. The choice is really up to you. I mean, that was a really, really bad scene. I mean, there's so many great emotional scenes, and I hate to bring up the two kind of bad scenes, but the whole scene with Markham was creepy.
He was very creepy.
Really, really creepy. I guess 30 years of being a human. Let's try a hermit.
Yes.
With nothing but
I'm sure he was a lonely guy.
Yeah, but Clint Eastwood and
James Garner,
who's
an Oklahoman, by the way.
Yeah. To keep you entertained.
And that episode of Maverick that he was watching was I watched part of it. There's like a love triangle that's going on there. One guy's in love with the girl, another guy comes along, and so it seemed appropriate for here's a guy in love with Olivia. She's trapped in Amber, but he loves her, and then Knight in Shining Armor comes along.
Yeah, Maverick.
Yeah, Maverick. Definitely. But yeah, he was definitely pretty creepy.
Yes, and his acting was a little.
It wasn't as good as we've normally seen.
That's
from
right.
him. Yeah, there's a couple of lines in there that I thought. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what it was, but I thought it was lacking a little bit too. Most of it was pretty good. For me, I don't know about you, but for me, there was a couple of lines that I thought, that was kind of weird.
Yeah, this isn't how it's supposed to be. She's going to get over my height problem or something like that, right? It was definitely funny, but I guess it just goes to show how bad things have gotten, right?
Yeah.
Because he used to have some swagger.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
when
that's
people walked into the bookstore and all that was gone. So
that's a good point, Clint. I like that. One thing I forgot to mention when I was talking about that scene between Etta and Olivia, as soon as Olivia looked into Etta's eyes, she knew who she was.
Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't say it, I know who she is, Peter. I looked into her eyes, but it was just, you could tell by the look on her face. As soon as she looked at Etta, she knew instantly who she was. That was great.
Yeah. I think I've covered everything I had. Is that possible?
I don't know. I've got some stuff that hasn't been highlighted yet. You did cover that.
Covered both of those. I'll highlight them.
I have a couple of things I want to ask. We talked about Walter in the taxi in that final scene, but I wasn't sure the fullness of that scene. Did he have some sort of recollection as to what the plan was that September had given him, or was it just kind of a healing moment because of the music and a renewed sense of hope? Was that all that it was, or was there some sort of, did the music also jar something in his mind?
I don't know. My thought was, based on what had taken place earlier in the episode, where he talked about music and how wonderful it was and how it was soothing and it brought hope and allowed people to think differently. That it was just a scene where he had lost all hope and was outside in his undies.
Yeah.
And he goes and listens to music and just restored a little bit of the hope.
That's kind of what I'm thinking too. I think they're going to have to come up with a new plan, a plan of their own.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. I mean, maybe September left something else out there, or I don't know. But I think the plan is still gone. Those memories are gone.
Yeah. So, how are they going to defeat the Observers?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
I had two other questions. One of which was just a random question. I was just wondering if Jeff Pinkner, who's no longer with the show, was responsible kind of for the case of the week.
Or the monster of the week.
Monster of the week.
I saw that note in here, and I think that's a potentially very good observation.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why. Because if they're not going to have that, maybe that's why he went ahead and stepped aside.
Yeah. He's like, well.
Yeah.
And the other thing I had, which was a question which we'll discuss in the Twinge segment in the next podcast, but I wanted to throw it out to get people thinking about it.
Okay.
Why did the Observers, the Observers exist multiple times in multiple planes. Right. They come from one timeline, assumedly.
But they can go to any other.
Why did they come back to this particular timeline? And why did they come back to this particular time?
Mm-hmm.
Why not earlier? Why not later? Why did they come back to this weird, half one timeline melded with another?
Okay.
Point in time. Why didn't they go to the red verse, for instance?
Sure. Yeah, I'll save my comments for that when we get to that in the twin segment. But that's a really, really good question.
Okay.
Hopefully, we got some good answers to
I
that
hope
in
so.
the twinge. All right, I have a couple questions for you. When Widmark is questioning Walter, he asks him about the stones and wants to know what the stones are. I'd like to think that at least those will come into play at some point because he made such a big deal of them.
Right.
I mean, I don't expect you to have any clue as to what they are, but do you want to make any type of speculation? Are you thinking, do you have any thoughts on what they might be? It can't be, I mean, Mick Jagger's got to be dead by 2036, right?
Hey, you never know. They could have put him in amber.
That's it. No, that's it. The observers don't like music. They're going to get the Stones back together, and that's going to drive them away.
There you go.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. No, I don't know, but what came to my mind was the stasis rune that they used to trap September.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some other type of stone, some type of relic, I think is the right word for me, that will have some sort of similar effect. It'll trap the observers or hold them at bay or something like that.
Or maybe they're going to get them stoned.
Maybe.
Everything hinges on Brown Betty, I'm telling you.
That's it. Good answer. All right. Do you think we'll see Simon or Belle again?
Yes.
Both?
Yes.
Okay. I completely agree. No Broyles or Nina yet. We know from 419 that they're around.
They are.
I think, just a matter of time, probably even next week before we see one or both of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else?
Can't think of anything.
Man, we made it through that a whole lot more quickly than I thought we were going to.
Yeah, I thought it was going to take a long time.
Yeah. So you're still hanging out at the 6.5? I mean,
I don't know.
Your comments, I feel like you gave it a 6.5 because it was different than what a normal Fringe episode is, but it still sounds like you enjoyed it quite a bit.
I love this episode.
Okay.
But do I consider it? Would I consider this? I can't even say that. I think 6.5 might be a little harsh.
Okay. And I'm not trying to get you to change it. It's just I'm trying to figure out how much. I understand there are some parts of it you didn't enjoy and some parts of it that you did, but it still sounds like there was quite a bit of meat on the bone that you did enjoy.
Oh man, there's a lot of things, and there are things that I thought that they did in this episode that, like the blowing dandelion with the dandelion at the end. I mean, that's classic, fantastic Fringe writing right there.
Yep.
I mean, wonderful television, cream of the crop, and one of the reasons why I think this is still the best show on television, but. I think for me, it's just going to take me some time mentally to adjust to this being a completely different episode, or different season, different show almost, than we've had in the past. It's structurally different, right?
Right.
I can't think of any other show that's changed its structure in the middle of the show.
Yeah.
Can you?
No, not like this show has. Yeah. No.
So, I mean, I think subconsciously that there's rules that apply to a particular television show, right?
Sure there are.
And I feel like the rules have changed this season. And so, which is fine. It's just going to take me some time to get used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, in that case, I think our plates are finally empty.
Oh, man.
The buffet table has been emptied, and we're going to move into Quote of the Week.
Quote of the Week.
Oh, it's the Quote of the Week. You never know what's going to happen. Quote of the Week. You better get right down and vote for it now. Quote of the Week. You never know what's going to happen. Quote of the Week. You better get right down and vote for it now. Word.
All right. Got some great quotes this week. We're going to get it kicked off with, "Hi, Mama."
Hi, Mama. You're beautiful. So are you. Last time I saw you, you were 3 years old. Now this time I thought it was 4. Oh, you were 3 years. was not one moment that I didn't think about you.
I like how they held off the music until the very tail end. That was nice.
That's a sign of good acting right there.
Yeah.
No music required.
That was good.
All right. Quote number 2.
I hope that one doesn't win, by the way.
Well, we may have to not act that one out.
Yeah.
Just play it. Let those ladies do the splendid job that they did.
Yes.
Quote number 2. There is no hope.
You're trying to think of music. You miss music.
There's not a lot of it here.
We tolerate it. But it's merely tones, rhythms, and harmonic vibrations. I don't understand.
Mostly it amazes me. Music helps you shift perspective. To see things differently if you need to.
See things like hope.
Yeah, very much like that.
But there is no hope for you.
He's so creepy.
Yep.
So you're going to have to do both parts if that one wins.
Oh, my goodness.
Because you do Walter Bishop and you do the Observers.
I hope that one doesn't win.
Well, maybe this one will win. What a miserable future.
September and I worked on the plan he provided in a unique way. After we completed each component, the information was scrambled in my mind as a precaution against being read. He told me that when the time came to implement the plan, I had to retrieve something from Grand Central Station, and that then all would be clear. And that's what I sent Olivia to get. She was on her way back when she vanished. She never returned. A few days later, I hammered this. Good call. What's that?
It's an egg stick.
What a miserable future.
Good stuff. And the final quote, you were stronger than me.
You were stronger than me. You could do something that I couldn't do. You saw that the world needed us, and you went to help them. And I didn't have the will to give up searching for this perfect little soul that we made. Out here for all these years, fighting for these people, defending the men at the moment that she needed her father to protect her. I couldn't do it. And I wanted more than anything for that not to be true. And in the state of mind that I was in, that meant at all costs. Including us.
All right. Thought about putting in the, of course I know I don't have pants. I'm not an idiot quote.
Yeah.
But it got booted out. Got depantsed, booted out.
I got you.
No shirt, no shoes, no pants, no service.
No quote of the week service.
That's right.
All right.
So those are your quotes. The poll will be up tonight. Today is September 30th, as we mentioned at the top of the show. So go over to thefringepodcast.com and look at the quote of the week. It'll be right there in our navigation. And you can place your vote for which one of those you liked best. And we'll probably be playing the winning quote for next week to
Possibly.
do it justice.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't know that we're going to act it out. We'll see.
We'll see what it is.
Yep.
Unless it's egg sticks.
Yes. Then you could possibly do that one.
Yes. So vote for egg sticks.
Yep. Hey, we mentioned, or you heard in the intro at the very top of the show that our sponsor for this podcast is Global Cash Card. We certainly appreciate having them on board. They're on board for all of Season 5 of the Fringe Podcast, and we want to thank Michael Purcell and all the folks over at Global Cash Card for their support. They are wonderful people over there who love the show that we put on and love Fringe as well. So thank you to them. And go check out thefringepodcast.com/global cash card and find out all the awesome things that they can provide for you or your company. If you also want to help support what we do here at the Fringe Podcast, there's a number of ways that you can do that. We mentioned our Amazon store there at the top of the show. If you want to go over to thefringepodcast.com, click on those Blu-rays for Fringe. That'll take you over to Amazon, and then anything you purchase over there, we'll get a little bit of a commission for that. You can also buy some stuff from our Cafe Press store. You can find that over at thefringepodcast.com/shop. That'll redirect you over to Cafe Press. Anything you purchase there will also help us. And then, of course, you can make a donation. If you go over to thefringepodcast.com, again, right there on the right-hand sidebar, there's an option to donate for a one-time contribution or an ongoing monthly contribution. And we certainly appreciate those as well. Anything that you guys feel we're worthy of to help, for the entertainment value we might provide you, we're certainly appreciative of that and grateful for all of those that have done that. It makes a difference, and we certainly appreciate it.
That's right. And so after you've listened to this podcast, now that you've listened to it, you can direct all hate mail via voicemail or typed letter to feedback@thefringepodcast.com. You can call us at 304-837-2278. That's 304-TFP-CAST. You can find us on Twitter.
It's changed.
It has, at goldenspiralmedia.com.
No,
that's not it.
It's GSM Podcasts.
GSM Podcasts. Yeah. That's right. You're right.
We changed it. If you're already following us over on Twitter, then you don't have to change anything at all. We just changed it to more aptly reflect all the. We don't do just one podcast. We probably should have changed it a while ago. But yeah, GSM Podcasts.
GSM Podcast. You can also follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Golden Spiral Media, soundcloud.com/ what? Is that right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. SoundCloud.com/Golden Spiral Media, and Friendster at AOL keyword.
Hey, you know what?
Golden Spiral.
MySpace is making a comeback. We might be having a MySpace.
That's what
page
I hear.
Before too.
Yeah, they did a redesign, and so did Dig, right?
Did Dig do one?
Yeah,
I didn't know that. Yeah, and then one last thing. Don't forget to go over and I guess two things. The Fringe finale poll over at thefringepodcast.com. If you're going to be able to make it to our Fringe finale party, go over there in the sidebar. You'll see it. And cast your vote so we'll get an idea of how much space we're going to need to reserve. And tomorrow, Monday, October 1st, nominations open up for the Podcast Awards. The Fringe Podcast is the name of the podcast. Thefringepodcast.com is the URL. Please nominate us in the entertainment and best produced categories.
Eso es correcto.
Okay. Anything else, sir?
That's it. That's it.
Yep. I think that's it.
That's it.
Well, everybody, it is great to be back. Cannot wait for this 5th season of Fringe and the Fringe Podcast. And it's been a wonderful episode. Clint, good to have you back in the chair, man.
Yeah, it's great to be back. I'm really looking forward to next week's extra long negative feedback podcast.
We'll see.
All right.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. And until next time, stay Fringe-tastic.
And keep your future selves nerdy.
The Fringe Podcast and Golden Spiral Media are not associated with Bad Robot Productions, Warner Brothers, or Fox. Golden Spiral Media's use of any and all copyrighted material is only for parody, news analysis, critique, and for educational purposes as provided within United States Code Title 17, aka Fair Use. Copyright 2012, Golden Spiral Media.